Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Fictional Character Motivation. I'm your host, Quan, and today we're going to be talking about Pacific Rim on focus and not chasing the rabbit. Hope everyone's doing good today, and we're going to dive into it. The synopsis: long ago, legions of monstrous creatures called kaiju arose from the sea, bringing with them all consuming war. To fight the kaiju, mankind developed giant robots called Jaegers, designed to be piloted by two humans locked together in a neural bridge. However, even the Jaegers are not enough to defeat the kaiju, and humanity is on the verge of defeat. Mankind's last hope now lies with a washed up ex pilot, Jaeger pilot that is, an untested trainee, and an old, possibly obsolete Jaeger. That's what the synopsis from Google says. But if you've seen the movie, you know how great and awesome it was, how pivotal it was for other movies like it to resurge back and for future movies. But this is another one of my favorite movies, big monsters, good action, and actually has some pretty nice fight scenes. But what also caught my attention is some of the underlying messages on meditation, focus, and not to get too attached to trauma. Like when you enter in the drift, just let all the stuff you see flow through you. If there's something good happens, something bad happens, you can just take a glimpse of that emotion, or you should, and then just let it move on. Reason is if you don't let any attach if you don't let any emotion attach to anything, it's mostly pretty good in the drift. But if you do happen to slightly attach to a certain emotion, slightly attached to a certain thing that drifts by you in the drift, as it were, it can get you stuck in the drift with that possible trauma, with that feeling, and with the drift being kind of synonymous with how life can be sometimes. It is a good metaphor. "Don't chase the rabbit" is a quote that rings true in the movie. It's what the main character, um, Charlie Hunnam's character, tells the trainee, Miko. And which to me also can be is a another version of "don't get distracted." It's amazing how we start off the day focused on our goals, focused on what needs to be done, what we might need to do, or some projects that we have in mind or that we're interested in, only for something to come along and stir up our emotions and our mind in such a way that we forget what we were going for. Or that one event can ruin our whole day. I mean, you've all experienced it before. You're having a good day, you're having a good something in your step. Awesome. It's either this person says something to you wrong, or that person looks at you different, or you just go out and something's going on with your car, something's going on with TV, Wi-Fi, something's going on with even like, you want to eat something and it's taking a little bit longer and it just itches your nerve for some reason. That's us being attached to certain things. That's us being attached to the rabbit, the distraction. See, we've been so consumed on how we want things possibly to be immediate, or how we want things to kind of flow to us so easily. We forget that life has other plans. We forget that life that the randomness of life is still playing its hand, it's still playing the game too. And we must accept that, and we must mentally prepare for that. We must mentally be okay with that and let it flow past us. We must let us it must be known that even though this is not going right, or this has had a bad day, or somebody just stepped on your shoe the wrong way and now your mood is up, it's best to let that emotion go so you can move on to the next emotion. So you move on to what you were originally going for that day. Versus having said emotion, person, event, thing ruin your whole day and almost put you either in anger or in fear, which never really helps anybody. So, how can we maintain our focus? How can we go through the drift of life and be able to do what we came here to do? As usual, I have some tips. I have some ideas. First off, start off in a good to neutral mood. And when I mean start off, I mean start your day. Like when first time you wake up, people forget that when they wake up, if they wake up early enough, I mean, sure, some people, some people want to go like, I don't want to wake up that early. Well, think about it. If you wake up early enough, you're not just setting the pace for, your body. Like your body is ready to go by the time you're ready to jump out the door. But you also get a chance to set yourself for your mind. I usually like the term that my mornings are pretty much me getting ready to put on my armor. And putting on armor, when you think about it, it's pretty much putting on stuff that's going to prepare you for what's out there. And one of the things that is important to prepare you is your mood, is your mindset. And I chose good or neutral because most of the time, if you're in either of those states, you're actually quite positive, or at the very least, you're not negative. If you're feeling good, if you're feeling great, you're feeling your best, you're feeling awesome, you're not really negative. Not many things can phase you that much. Same thing with neutral. If you're neutral, if you're good enough for this and maybe not bad enough for, and maybe bad enough for that, but at the same time, instead of you going like, oh, I'm bad, oh, I'm good, I'm just like, nothing's happened yet, everything is all right, no issues so far, you just have that calmness. That's just as good too, because most of the time, especially with certain events that have happened, I'll let that sink in, especially from what happened, from what I've heard from happened last night. There are so many people that want to go with a certain emotion, but sometimes what might need to happen is no emotion. What might need to happen is to zone it out and to pretty much focus on, okay, well, this and this happened. So what am I going to do? What needs to be done? How can I make sure that I come out on top this year? It's being neutral. Now, granted, I said the mind, your mood should be neutral. There are times where a person can be neutral, and in certain places should be neutral. Should be neutral everywhere. Mentally, you can be, because when you're neutral, when you're at that kind of observe, observatory kind of mode. Sorry, I didn't come out. I was saying observation, yeah, observation mode, observatory mode, whatever you want to classify it as. You're more about examining and taking info in. You're not about hoorah, doing stuff. And you're not about, oh, this sucks, I'm not going to do good at anything. You're still observing. You're still gathering information and interpreting it. And most of the time when you're in observation mode, you interpret, you read, you scan, you pretty much get a feel of what's going on. So that helps. So start off in a good or neutral mood in the day. Put on that armor. Make sure you're ready for the day. Second is focus on the goal or what you want to or what you have to do, not the small stuff. Remember the quote, "Don't chase the rabbit." Same thing. Um, Pretty much set a goal for your day, even if it's the one goal, even if it's two goals. Don't overwhelm yourself with goals. Remember uh, listening to a motivational video that pretty much is good to have 5 or 6 goals each day that will push you forward. Do that, and that can pretty much be added to your putting on armor. You have 5 or 6 goals that you must complete, and even though all this craziness is going on, it is your job for you to figure out what you need to do to complete those 5 to 6 goals and do them. Don't chase the rabbit. Sure, there may be, this person come in front of you, maybe a cop pulled over you for the wrong reasons, maybe, someone said something mean. Whatever the case is, they're small stuff. Your goals is big stuff. Focus on what you need to do. Focus on your goals. Don't chase the rabbit. The rabbit is distraction. Don't chase distraction. Don't do that. And the last thing is try your best to be the calming force. Don't let bad or sudden things control your emotions. Now, this kind of pretty much goes with the first one, setting off emotion, but this is pretty much added to that. And the calming force, the meditative force, I like to call it, in the movie Pacific Rim is actually Idris Elba's character. You see him, he is stern, he is focused, he is almost emotionless. Almost. As you see, he's always composed, he's always in control of himself. And when he lets loose for those couple little bits, you see it where it's just like, ooh, he could really unleash it if he wanted to. But he chose not to. He chose to keep it in a composed manner. And some of y'all know the scene that I'm talking about, where it's just like, there was one scene to where Charlie Hunnam's character touched him, and he's like, 1, don't ever touch me. 2, don't ever touch me. And he says it in a calming manner. It's just like, ooh, he's bubbling, but it's not spilling over. He's got it contained. He's got it reserved. And I want you to try to focus on having that throughout the day. Because if you're calm, if you're collected, you can most likely get through a lot of stuff. I mean, sure, you may have that few seconds where you're going like, you're breathing hard, or you're angry, you're pissed off, or you're downtrodden, you're sad. But if you try to go from there to like what calms you, how can you calm yourself? When you get your center back to that point, then you can focus on what may need to be done. Then you may focus like, okay, even though I'm in this situation, how am I going to adapt? How am I going to change? What can I do in this moment so that I can get back on top? Always a calming moment. This is also why I encourage most people to take on martial arts, especially most grappling martial arts, jiu-jitsu, judo, wrestling, any of those, because most of the time when you start off, you're going to put in a lot of pressure. And you'll want to go, especially when someone's just smushing their weight on you while also trying to get to a certain part of your body for either an arm bar or a choke or a leg lock, any of those. And eventually, once you get used to that, once you get calm, once you find this is like a normal for you, then that becomes, even when you have a bigger, more vicious opponent on you, you can still go like, you just breathe, you focus on what needs to be done, you focus on how to handle the situation instead of being in a panic attack that this guy's in my space and I don't know what to do. Like that. So, with that being said, as usual, I'm always a martial arts advocate, if you will. I believe that what would help everybody in all shapes and forms is that they at least master or at least be known, have good knowledge in the 3 martial arts, the three known areas of martial arts, which is close range grappling, punching range, kicking range, and then for an added bonus, weapons range, which weapon range goes back to close range, long range, depending on what weapon you choose to practice. But enough martial arts rants about me. So, how can we go through the drift of life and focus on what we need to do? One, start off the day in a good or neutral mood. Make sure you're balanced. Put on that armor. Second, focus on the goal, what you have to do, not the small stuff. Yes, there are distractions, just the bad stuff, but focus on what you need to do. And there's multiple ways you can do that. I'm a big fan of writing, um, from writing scripts to like writing stuff down. So I write stuff down in my journal. I have a small little notepad that I pretty much have close by that if an idea pops up or something pops up for a reminder, I write that down. Or if you want to be kind of all new and techy, you can put it in your phone. You know, there's notes apps now that you can just put it on your phone, and each time you feel a little bit off balance, you just look at your phone and be like, okay, this is my goals. This is what I need to do. Okay, focus on that because that helps. Trust me, it does. It helps a lot. And throughout the rest of the day, try your best to be in the calming force. Don't let bad or sudden things control your emotions. Remember, one of the main things we can only control is ourselves. And even ourselves, it is hard. But once you get 50% control, 60, 70% control, then even when bad things happen, you go like, oh, okay, even though this and this has happened, I can do this. What do I need to do? What's the objective? How do I take it out? And I hope that was good for everybody. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you learned something. I hope something landed for y'all. Please let me know. Show some love, whether it be through podcast, YouTube, any of those things. Please let me know. Please like this video, share this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel or to my podcast, Fictional Character Motivation. Do any of those things. Listen out, listen well. Hope everything's going well. Hope you have an awesome day, and deuces.